Hello and welcome to episode 171 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right, just a couple of regular guys drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
That's right, and we have the foundation of Magic this week. Oh,
Oh,
we got a new set coming out, and we gotta pregame this thing because it's gonna be a party.
I'm so pumped.
I'm so pumped for this set. I know we say that every single time a new set comes out, but like
Hey, new Magic sets are exciting.
they are. But, maybe in the future they'll be a little bit less exciting. So we have to
hmm
be really excited about the things. There's things happening, things are out of your control in the world. If you can find some happiness in something, be happy about it, right? That's cool. Just like stuff. Liking things is cool.
Like stuff while you can.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like stuff while you can. And Jeff, you know what else I like? I like beer. So each week we drink a beer. We rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap this week?
All right, this week we have Acid House. This is a beer from Bellwoods.
Hmm.
Bellwoods is a pretty well-known brewery at this point out of Toronto, if you're from anywhere near Toronto. We've had it a few times on the show. They make great beer, but they specialize in like beers with little funk. Everything they
Hmm.
make that has some funk to it is always really good. And originally, basically everything they made had some.
It's
And
true.
so this is a sour IPA. I expect it to, live up to that
Hmm.
Bellwoods legend
I
of,
think I have some high standards.
yeah,
Their like flagship IPA, or sorry, their flagship sour Jelly King is like
mhm,
mythic on the show. So
fantastic beer. And
we're
this beer is 7%. So
mhm. Hefty one. I did not notice that when I picked it up. But
We usually like try to stock up a bit and then exchange some beers, and everything Zach brought me was like massive beer.
this time around, my bad. Oops. Oh well. Let's
He
get
claims
into
he
it.
didn't look, but
I didn't. I swear. And I didn't look at the 8 and 9% ones I sent you
I was
either.
gonna say this is like the smaller one that you brought.
Well, Jeff, anyway, we have some magic news. Like I said before, Foundation comes out next week. I believe that's November 12th onto Arena, and the pre-release is this weekend. Are you doing any pre-releases, Jeff?
I am. I'm gonna do actually we're recording Thursday night. Tomorrow will therefore be Friday night.
Ooh,
And I'm gonna do a Friday night pre-release
that's
at
exciting.
a board game cafe in my area. So very pumped for that. I haven't done a pre-release in a little while. I think since OTJ, and I went to the same place, same thing Friday night with the same friend that I'm gonna do it with tomorrow. So I'm super excited for that. Are you gonna
That's
play in any?
I will. However, I will not be able to drink beer at mine because I'm doing the 10 a.m. at like the big game store here in Toronto, face to
I
face.
don't think that means you can't drink beer. It means you shouldn't.
Yes, that's true. I could brown bag
Yeah, it's just like in your coat.
it. Yeah, it's in my deck box. I just have
Yeah.
a little flask of beer. God, that would be really embarrassing. I feel like and kind of sad, or very sad. But anyway, um, excited to get back into this. Going with a couple of my friends who've been playing Magic for a long time. So all the feels I'm gonna have for this set, they're gonna have it too. So we get to geek out and have a good time. Um, Anyway, we had a couple of other announcements that happened this week after the whirlwind that was last week, and I guess this week too. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, things have settled down with the universes beyond stuff. And I think my own feelings about it have kind of softened as well, just with like everything that's happening. I'm like, you know what? I don't have to bitch so much about magic. That's my hobby. I will try to enjoy it as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let it ruin my day because ultimately it doesn't matter that much if I'm playing with Spider-Man cards. So,
That's all, we were trying to get across last week is like, it makes sense to feel a certain way about this. It is going to affect, where you end up with the game, but just
mhm.
let that happen organically.
Totally. Yeah, and there might be bigger things to worry about.
Hmm.
Anyway, uh, so this week we had like a basically Arena did like their state of the game, state of their formats article, which tends to happen like every 6 months or so, maybe every year. Um, at least for the state of the game, it's usually every year. Um, but they were talking about things that they like to like talk about all the things that they did this last year and go through all the amazing accomplishments they had. But of course, the most exciting thing is what's happening in the future. Now we know Pioneer Masters is happening at the beginning of December, which they had told us in one of these articles like 4 years ago was going to happen. So hey, they are good on their word, I guess. Eventually, at some point, they finally do it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like 3 years too late, but that's fine. Um, so I guess take this next bit with a grain of salt because they have said by the end of 2025, we will have more implementations for social aspects on Arena, where their main focus, they say this multiple times, is they want like fun, fast games of Magic where you can like combine the communities between Arena and paper play. And so they want more integration where like you go to your local game store and when you do your pre-release, you get pre-release codes in your packs and everything. They want to eliminate that so just you signing up for the event, it just already goes into your Arena account. Like you did a pre-release, it's on your app that we use for like the companion app that's connected with your Arena account. You just come back to your house that evening, you log into your Arena account. It's like, hey, you went to a pre-release. Here's your cards or whatever.
hmm. I
So
mean, that
make
is
it
better.
it is better. Make it a lot more streamlined and kind of easier, and going back and forth between them will be great. Which is like I am all for all this stuff. Like I'm really excited for these things. If the social aspect they're talking about is talking more with your friends, playing more with your actual friends, having like actual arena communities where people like other people's usernames. If like they said something about like leaderboards, which is something we've talked about in the past, wanting
Yeah.
being able to like know certain people on the leaderboards, being like I'm fighting this person, they're above me, I'm trying to beat them or whatever. That all sounds like a lot of fun to me, and I'm very excited for anything we can get in this world.
Yeah, and other games have had it where, on those leaderboards, it'll be like, this is the deck they are using most
Hmm.
recently or have used the most or whatever. And you just click it and download it. And it's like,
Hmm.
that's such a great feature.
That would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, and also to metagame against them, be like, oh, they have this. That's their sideboard plan. Oh, okay. But well, I'm gonna play these cards to whatever, whatever. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, you'll get some pushback from the pros on their secret tech and whatnot. And then it's just be like, that doesn't actually matter, guys. Like, cut it
yeah,
out.
yeah, totally. Um, I definitely get that. I mean, that would just. I mean, if the pros are just not like that, would all be like ranked stuff, right? So it just means
Mhm.
like don't play your secret tech on your ranked thing, and they already don't do that kind of stuff. They
Right.
like
Exactly.
purposely
Like,
like quit leagues so people don't know what their deck list is.
because
They
you end
go,
up against a streamer anyways, and then it's being broadcast to
mhm,
thousands of people.
exactly. So um, anything where we can encourage community, I'm like always behind. Jeff, we were talking about this before the show, had mentioned that it's probably gonna suck, but like,
Yeah.
who knows?
It's
It,
gonna be some buggy, like rough implementation of this, but the fact that it is something they're prioritizing is the news here that matters, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, because we haven't. I don't feel like we've really gotten a lot of announcements about them talking about wanting to do these kinds of things.
Right.
Which, like I've said before, the biggest thing for me would be if I could draft with seven of my friends
There's just no way. There's
in
no way
any
they're gonna let you.
capacity. I don't. Why not? You can do it on Magic Online.
Yeah, but this is not Magic Online.
I know this is better, and we should have all the things that we have for Magic Online on Arena,
You
right?
know how, like, because people won't spend money. They might charge you for that. I could see it if they
Yeah.
charge you for it.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not saying that it's
Like
for
a
free.
phantom draft that
That
costs
you
everyone who joins a
like for,
thousand gold or whatever.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I would do that. That's even cheap. Like if it's even
Yeah,
just
I was thinking 1,000, they would go way higher than that. But
even just like the Arena Cube regular things, like the
maybe
Arena Cubes.
5K. They might go 5K.
I mean, like 4K is Arena Cube just to play, and you
Yeah,
get like gold back when you win or whatever. So like if
right.
there would probably, if there was a prize structure of like 3-0 gets gold back, basically,
Mm.
or like
Like
maybe,
some of your gold gets pooled and then returned to,
yeah, it
yeah.
basically just gets returned to you, and then like maybe there's a pack for the winner or something. Like something small. Like it doesn't matter how I'm not looking for rewards. I'm just looking for playing against my friends. And
Okay,
then
I thought you were suggesting this as like a free feature that you can
oh,
just
no,
sort
no,
of how
no.
you can challenge your friends to a game for free.
Oh, I don't
Like
see them ever giving us
they
things
would
for
never do
free
that,
like
right?
that.
Like,
No.
yeah.
Because they'd have to like pay for the server. But
Mhm,
sorry,
yeah.
if I wasn't clear enough. No, I'm willing to pay my hard-earned gold for this feature.
Gotcha.
Especially because like normally when you go through like a draft or something, like you can blast through a draft in like an hour and a half or something. Like if you're
Yeah,
playing with your friends and you
for
have to like
sure.
link up and do all this stuff, that's
Especially
like
if you O3 like me, like I
yeah,
can get through that in half an hour, yeah.
exactly, so fast.
Yeah.
But if you're like drafting with your friends, like it takes a long time because you have to line up everything. That's like a whole evening. If I spend 4,000 gold for an evening of fun with my friends, oh, buddy,
Right. You could probably do
oh,
two drafts instead of like normally you can only really do one.
yeah, like it's all
And it's
exciting
cheaper than
stuff.
buying the packs, you know.
Yeah. And you can all do it like it's easy. You don't have to drive anywhere. Obviously you don't get to see each other and like face to face, and that is an important thing. But I would be able to draft with a lot of my friends more often, or friends that I don't see anymore because they moved to Hamilton. But
Sounds like a real jerk.
anyway, I think that some of these things could be super cool. So I have high hopes for this social feature thing. It's probably going to be a lot worse or less exciting than I just described, but I think there's a world where we get something, right?
The
Something.
pessimist in me is saying no way.
All right, I'm very optimistic about this, so I'm excited.
I feel like it would have to be just more expensive than we want it to be, and that's the problem.
Yeah, but recently they have been adding features that are more player friendly, right?
Yeah,
Like the starter
that's
decks that
true. That's
cost
true.
less depending on how many cards you have in your collection. They're changing the special guests so that they only cost their actual rarity, not all mythic all the time. They're giving us like extra free stuff in foundations. I don't know. There's some, you know, there's some stuff. They did mention, how the mastery tree has changed. Like before, it was all the orbs, and you put them in the tree, and you have to go through to get like the good stuff or
Is that
whatever.
not what it is anymore?
Well, they changed it to like remember they did like the psychic frogs hidden hideaway thing, where you just
Okay.
like get a bunch of tickets.
Yeah.
Well, now you just like get a bunch of like in Duskmorn, it's just like eyeballs, and you use the eyeballs to like buy sleeves or whatever showcase things you want. But you can just pick whatever you want. You don't have to get the shitty ones first and then get the good
Yeah.
ones. And
Okay.
their basic thing behind it is like it is so much easier for us to design this, and we don't have to do anything special. The mastery tree thing took way too much time, and nobody cared.
They were spending time on that? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is a good change.
And so
Nobody
like
gives a shit about those old
nobody fucking cared about the mastery tree. I'm so happy it's gone. This other thing's
I
way
only
better
would do it to get the notification that I have a new orb or whatever to
to go
leave.
away. Yeah,
As
yeah.
I'm that kind of person that I don't want any of those like
Things
orange
I
hovering lights.
hate
Yeah.
them. But anyway, so yes, this is good news that they're like we're realizing people don't care about certain things, and now we're putting more energy into other
I can't
things.
believe they were putting like time and energy into those things. I thought they were just like whatever, like pick some mythic rare cycle as the end thing and like
I think it was just like build, yeah, they have to like make the thing and make them like move the
oh
stuff
yeah,
around. So
this is better for the players and easier for them. Like, yeah, come on.
perfect. Yeah.
It's great.
Don't spend time on that stupid thing. Spend time on the
Right.
social. Let me draft with my friends.
Yeah.
Well, until that happens, we just have to play Arena the normal way, which is drafting for our collection.
Yeah.
So this is something we bring up every pregame, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the episode, but the set hasn't come out yet. This is our like party before the set happens. It's our pregame, and we always talk about the best way to get a collection on Arena is to draft your cards. It's like
Yeah.
the cheapest way. It's also like just the way you're gonna get stuff. I don't know. Um, I you can like basically instead of buying packs, you get to actually play with your packs and then get money back to get more packs to play with to get money back, and it's a whole game in itself. If you're not drafting, think about it. I know people, not everyone loves drafting, but hey, it's a part of Magic. If you're on the Pro Tour, you'd have to draft. So yeah. Anyway, sorry. That's just my. I love drafting, so that's my little soapbox for that. Jeff, could you talk about our no pass list?
Sure. So, the idea behind the no pass list is that you, if you are interested in playing constructed and in playing draft, one thing that is really helpful is to sit down ahead of time and look at the rares and mythic rares in the set and say, these are the ones I'm interested in for my collection specifically, or for, whatever constructed format I play. And I'm going to commit ahead of time that if these show up in a draft that I'm doing, I'm just going to take them. The
Hmm.
reason this is so helpful is, um, like there is that decisioning balance of should I take the card I'm interested for constructed or should I take the card that's quote unquote better for my draft deck? And uh, that can be like a stressful decision in the moment.
Whatever, like 90 seconds, 60 seconds you have.
Yeah, especially and this format's new, so you're reading all the cards and stuff. You just don't have that time. And so making it ahead of time really like offloads a lot of that. And
Hmm.
here we really believe that that for sure wild card is more valuable than like the potential like the theoretical percentage point win increase in your final draft deck.
Hmm.
Because that doesn't always materialize. It's like there are so many playables and formats these days that, knocking off one of your early picks for, something that's not quite as good isn't as big a delta. And
Totally.
so, all that to, in summary, we're pro rare drafting, and
Hmm.
that's what we're telling you. We're giving you permission to rare draft right now.
Hmm.
The only advice we're tagging on to that is like rare draft ahead of time because then you
Hmm.
don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to feel bad about it in the moment. You're like, dude, I said I was going to do this. I have to.
I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's just a thing in Magic where people say like, "Hey, you shouldn't take cards that aren't for your deck because it's supposed to be for other people's decks, and then you drafted incorrectly or whatever." Um, we
I
just
mean, the
say
fact that rare drafting is a term at all is
mhm,
like ridiculous, right?
it is
It should just be
ridiculous.
like, yeah, of course I took the rare. It's the best card in the pack.
Yeah, I took this. Somebody passed me this, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I want this. I get to take it. Now I have it." Like, I you shouldn't feel bad about it, and this is basically what we're saying. Like, we just don't want you to think you're like a bad Magic player, quote unquote, because you're rare drafting. Just do it. Fucking who cares? Even in paper, who cares?
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just
If you want the card, take the card,
take the
man.
card,
Yeah.
like whatever. Um, anyway, so normally the first thing we do is we look at the like rare lands that are for the set that are best for like standard, and we're expecting them to be in standard for a long time. Foundations, if you didn't know, is basically a core set that and if you don't know core sets, this is a set that's primarily reprints of Magic cards. So a lot of them have been already made in the past, and it's just a way to keep the spirit of Magic alive. Kind of, you get to reprint really cool cards like Fire Exy and Arena, even if it's not good anymore. But
How dare you?
it's not. Sorry. But have those like nostalgic like Lawn War elves and stuff. They get to come back in sets like this. Um,
It's still good. It's just everything else is better.
we have a better one in standard right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Fire
Yeah.
Arena is still really good. Just like all the other cards you have access to are better.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. It doesn't mean it's yeah, it's still good, but everything else is just so much better that it's not good anymore. Like, um, anyway, so this set normally a draft set is like 3 years in standard. That's basically how long every set is in standard. This one will be in standard for 5 years. That includes when they're going to change the rotation from like August, September into January in 2027. So this is like all leading up to this moment. Like this is the beginning of the new world. If you want to know more about that, listen to last week's episode where we talk about the Foundations era. But what I was originally saying is that we want to look at the rare dual lands and see if they're important in standard. Now, I have a quick caveat. If you've looked at Foundations on Scryfall, which is the best place to look at Foundations, or Magic cards in general, you should use scryfall.com. They have just the best search engine. However, this time it has been really confusing. If you've looked up these cards, you may also
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about.
I hate this personally.
That there are rare dual lands in Foundations that will be standard legal, but they're not going to be in the draft format. So the full cycle of temples from like Theros block originally will be in standard. So those are the ones that enter the battlefield tapped. They tap for two different colors and they scry one. They're in like a supplementary product and they are standard legal. They're just not in the draft format. So we don't have to worry about drafting them. Also, they're reprints. I have them from like the core sets of yesteryear, basically. So not worried about that. If you want a quick little like search to be like, oh, is this card in the draft format or not? Just look at the collector number at the bottom of the card. If it's 200 and like, I think it's 271 or less, then it is in the draft format. If it's higher than that number, it's not in the draft format. So a lot of the cards that you're looking at are like 400 and whatever, 500 and something. Like those are all cards that are in other products that are like for beginners. There's like a collector, or there's like a complete collection box for beginning players. There's like starter decks for beginning players, which are all standard legal cards, but they're just not in the draft format. So that's why it can be really confusing when you're looking at Scryfall and there's all these cards. It's like, whoa, Foundations is a 571 card set. It's like, no, it's like 200 and something, but these are all the cards that it's bringing into standard. It's for a company that says that they're trying to make legality really simple. It's making
Simple,
things
yeah.
really confusing.
That's the part that I think isn't clean about Foundation. I think like everything I love about Foundations except this,
Hmm.
and I understand where it comes from. Like they want to offer these new player products. They do not want those products to not then be legal and standard. That
Hmm.
totally makes sense to me. But then this whole like they're not in the main set and there's a draftable version. It's like I understand you want to offer this suite of products. This is your entryway into like the format. You want it all to be legal. I get how we got here, but this is kind of like the blemish, the only like blemish on it for me where it's like that's not clean. That's a little
Hmm.
like
Because they've done these things before where it's like, oh, this card wasn't in the draft set, but it's like standard legal. But usually
yeah.
the card, there were like 10 cards, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
This is like hundreds of cards.
And I
Like,
didn't even like it then, because it'd
mhm.
be like, is this card legal? I didn't even know that. And usually those 10 cards were awful. And like it would
Yeah.
never, it just didn't matter
There
because
was like
like
one
you
card in
worried about it.
Kaldheim that like the Youthful Angel or something
Yeah.
ended up being in standard decks
Or
sometimes.
when like Corvold really mattered in standard, that became a
Right. And that
thing that was like,
it
that
was like in
sucks
a
because it's so
brawl
hard to
deck,
get Corvold. Yeah.
Corvolds, yeah. Um, so it's a little bizarre. Like you'll see that like expedition map and stuff are in standard, but they're not in draft products. So
Yeah.
keep an eye out for that. Look at your collector numbers. So actually looking at the draft format was significantly harder. Also because the with the more collector number nonsense that the reprints and the new cards for the set are separated. Um,
Yes. I also hate that.
so like all the new cards for white, blue, black, red, green are separate from the reprint cards that are white, blue, black, red, green. So anyway,
That part
that's
doesn't actually matter for like playing the game. It's just for
it's just annoying. If you're
me
looking on
to like,
Scryfall
yeah, for me to use Scryfall, and
and
it's
everyone
different than
else,
what I'm used to, and I don't
yeah,
like it.
it's really weird. Anyway, sorry. that was kind of a mini tangent. All of it basically coming around to try to tell you that there are no rare dual lands in the draft set, so I'm not putting them on my no pass list because they don't exist. Um, though they are in standard. So
Yeah, of course.
was that another just drunken long
Uh,
tangent for like almost no reason? But
Don't worry, I'm not
anyway,
going to play them anyways because we have literal same thing but better
but
in
better
standard
in the
already.
surveil lands, yeah. So like it's good that they put them in here. Like it sucks that they're going to be around forever. I've never really liked the temples. They're like good for like control decks, and that's why I don't like them. But um, anyway, you have a choice now. You could
Do you
play
like
as.
the surveil lands?
I like them because at least they have a little bit more play. I mean,
Mm.
I still don't play them, and I also don't like them, but they do have more play where you can fetch them and do
It's just a
things. And
better design, I think.
yeah, you can like they combo with graveyard stuff, and
Yeah.
um,
It's not just like blue-white control
yeah,
that cares.
we're like
Yeah.
cool. Or like some what is it? Lotus Field combo plays the
Ugh.
other ones, the mystery Temple of Mystery, because they want to keep things in their deck so they can tutor it up. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's ugh.
But rare dual lands aside, is there anything else on your no pass list here?
So I was gonna say this has been really interesting because I mean this is a core set. We've never done a core set really, right? Like we started the podcast like right after the last core set, and then they just never printed another one.
I know, so
Um,
sad.
and it is kind of interesting because there are cards being printed into this core set that I'm like, oh, like they're within the last like 4 years or 5 years. But I'm like, oh, it's so cool. I forgot that this is how things worked. Where they're like, hey, this card that you really liked from that set, we put it in the core set, and you're like, oh
Yeah,
my god, it's back! Look at
I
it. That's
love
so
it.
cool. Like that feeling has been all over this set, and it's been so fun to look at all the stuff. Um,
They've done a fantastic job
they
with
really
that.
have. Like, holy crap. Even when they print cards that I'm not super excited to see again. Um, like, do I need more Giada in standard? Not really. But I'm happy it's here. It's like, hey, I remember when that came out, and
Yeah, I remember that card.
and
Yeah.
you're deemed like yeah, standard for 5 years. You got the big star in your chest, you know. Um,
Hey, I'm always for them pushing kindred decks in standard. I like that.
well, this set has a lot of that, so
Yeah.
that's very exciting. But that's all kind of to say. No, I feel like this has been the first set in a long time where I'm so excited for the whole set that I don't even really have a no pass list in the sense that like I just kind of want to draft the crap out of this and get every single card. Like I'm less interested in like individual ones. There might be ones here and there, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I just kind of want to play the set and like play core set. Like that's what I want to do.
I'm exactly the same. And we're in a bit of a unique position. Oh, maybe not unique, but like we've been playing Arena a long time. And so when I look through this, a lot of the cards I'm excited about, I already have,
Hmm.
And so it's like, cool, I don't have to super worry about that. If you're maybe a little newer than that, yeah, go through and pick out the card. Maybe it's your chance to get some of those older cards that you didn't pick up the first time around. For me, it's like, oh, this card, yeah, and this card, and that's going to be in standard. Oh my God, like Immersturm Predator is back in standard. Fucking love that.
Hmm.
But I already have 4 copies of that card, so like normally that would be on my no pass list, but
Hmm.
I have it. So
Yeah.
I could go through and be like the new Kaito, kind of interesting. I'd probably
Hmm.
pick it up if I saw it. But for the most part, I'm same as you. It's just like I just want to draft this. I'm not actually really going to worry about uh,
Totally.
building that collection because I think it's just going to happen organically, and I already have a lot of the stuff that I want.
Yeah. I think like maybe cards that might pull me, like just like cool cards that we're seeing. And that's like that are kind of because like we said, we're not making like a solid list. And I could easily pass this in draft, but I want to play with it in standard, possibly. Like Raise the Past. Like
Hmm.
Raise the Past is 2 white for a sorcery. Return all creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah.
I love creatures that cost two or less. I'm a Lurrus guy. I really love this. They're my favorite ones.
This
And this
card is like
card,
super Lurrus.
it's
Yeah.
awesome. You get all of them at the same time. So awesome. And it obviously I'm gonna play this card in a very fair way, probably in some sort of like typal thing or like I don't know, aggressive strategy. If it does well, it's probably going to be in a deck I don't like, which is something kind of
Yeah.
busted with some sort of like combo. Um,
Yeah. Somehow
like
returning like zero toughness creatures. They all
yeah, it
die or
reminds me
something.
of like Amalia combo stuff,
Yeah.
that like they had cards like this that got their combo pieces back at the same time and then they combo
Right.
off.
Yeah.
So like that's what makes me sad about it. I'm like, oh man, this card looks so cool, but I know that if it does well, it's going to be a deck I don't want to play. So I'm not really interested in picking up a bunch of copies if like that's the competitive version of it.
It's possible that it's like a sideboard card in a white weenie kind of thing. The main problem with that is right now, like Sunfall's what's getting you. Temporary
Yeah,
lockdown's what's getting you, and this doesn't fix it.
deal with
But
those
when we
things.
move to the world where Day of Judgment is
Hmm.
sort of the stock answer to those kinds of decks, then this might be, yeah, bring this in and just like recover from a Day of Judgment immediately kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, either that or like I mean, even better if you're playing like Boros, your creatures have haste and you get to do this and then attack.
Oof. Yeah. Then Day of Judgment really sucks against you.
Hmm. And they just played the exile one that makes this card
Yeah.
obsolete. So, I just thought it was really exciting, and that was definitely one that I was like, this is a very cool card.
Yeah, it is a cool card. I feel like it's existed before, but it's always just been like X, and now they're like, fuck it, X is two.
Yeah, I
You know?
really
Like,
like, and the thing is that much prefer that from like
yeah.
the my reading comprehension level. I don't read
He doesn't
well.
like to read the cards.
Yeah, yeah. I literally on stream like yesterday or was it today? I can't remember. I like really, really did made a huge mistake because I didn't read my card. And
I think everyone does that. That's like the Magic player experience, the RTFC experience,
yeah.
right?
Um but anyway, this is like I would much prefer cards to be templated a little bit simpler like this. I love the simple designs that you have to like find other things about them, and it's not about just remembering all the different pieces that the card does.
Mhm.
Um, so that's why I love Corset. Corset's the best.
Corset is the best. I'm so excited for this set.
I know a lot of people don't love Corsets, but like, why? Like, it's so fun. It's just bread and butter magic, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And they got some spice,
they
like
do. Is
they
it?
inject some spice in the rare and mythic
It's
and the
true.
occasional uncommon and
Now that they like make other cards, when they made like core sets where it was all reprints, like
yeah,
obviously that was different, but it was mainly just to make sure people could get the cards.
right.
But Jeff, is there any spice that you're looking at? Anything that you see that's fun that would be like, don't know if I would like actually take a whole pick on this in the draft, but like, I like this card. This is a cool card.
Oh, for sure. I'm eyeing like a lot of these gold cards I think are pretty cool. Um, so I'm eyeing the new Elenda.
Mm.
Think it's just like a cool card, but I don't think it's powerful enough where I'm going to be like, oh, I'm taking this for surezies. I just think like, the Elenda, the Niv Mizzet, the like Black Green Elf, I think is sweet. These gold rares are speaking to me, man. I look through this and I'm like, oh man, Maelstrom Pulse is back, Lathril. I thought this was the same coma as before. I just kind of my brain
I
defaulted to that,
I
and I
did the exact same thing.
I only like recently read it. I was like, holy shit, it's a different card.
It's a
Like,
completely different coma.
and it was
What?
the 812 that just like triggered me for the like 812. Hold on, that's not the same thing. That's like
Yeah.
used to.
Do you want to just like read coma so we can all groan together?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about Coma World Eater. This is 3 green, green, blue, blue for a legendary creature Serpent. It is an 8/12. It cannot be countered. It has Trample and Ward 4. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create 4 3/3 blue serpent creature tokens named Coma's Coil.
I hate it.
So I assume you hate it because it is an obvious like counter to your favorite deck, Control.
I mean, I hate control too, but it's also like Simic Ramp is like
Yeah,
one of our least favorite things on
yeah,
the
yeah.
show. And
This is a real payoff.
it's a real payoff of just like can't counter it. Your go for the throat costs 6. Like,
And the funny thing is, I actually don't think it's good against Control because all you have to do is
oh,
know that this card is in your opponent's deck and save your Sunfall. Like,
that's true.
s- so it's like it reads like it really hoses the Control player because it's like you
Hmm.
can't counter this and you can't target it, but it's like they just don't care. They just exile it immediately.
That's definitely true. Or even just like board wipe. The other one like gave indestructible, so that was an issue. Because didn't they get a coil on every turn?
Yeah, yeah, they
So
on every player's turn, so
yeah,
like
so on
two
on
per
the
turn
turn
cycle.
that the control player would be able to wipe the board with just like a regular board wipe, they would
Yeah.
have a coil to keep Goma alive.
Yeah, I said Sunfall because I assumed that's what they're playing, but
Well,
like, yeah,
probably,
any
yeah.
board wipe works. Yeah.
Hmm. So yeah, you don't even have to exile this thing. You just have to like wipe the board and then bye.
Yeah.
So
So this is literally just like a typical blue-green ramp target
big,
that's gonna own everyone except the control decks who are just not gonna care that much. They're just gonna Day of Judgment this away immediately. So no
yeah,
matter how fast you get there, it's not gonna be faster than Day of Judgment,
yeah.
right?
And I'll be looking at my like Witchstalker Frenzy, being like, I need 3 of these to kill it,
Yeah.
and a lot of mana. So like,
I'll
it's
be sitting there with my blood artist and they're at 17. I'm like,
hmm,
What, like, I was doing the race math in my head. So they get
yeah.
4 3/3s. Okay.
Hmm. But the three threes
And
don't.
I ping them for 2 on end step.
Yeah, and then they have trample.
Feels like I'm not winning this one.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of card that I'm mad about. The best thing about this card is that when it comes down, it won't do the coma coil thing on Arena that like give me the
Yeah.
EBGBs
Yeah. That's true.
because they
I hadn't
stopped.
considered that in my
Yeah,
evaluation of this card, but yeah.
yeah, but no, ugh, what a gross, dumb thing. Another funny card that I just want to bring up because is this the first time we've had one of these things? They just decided that ley lines are not only enchantments, they're just like stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so
I
they
think
decided to give me a card that looks cool but seems probably very bad, and I can't play this card. Um,
when I read this card, I was like, is Zach gonna try to play this? Like
I like kind of want to, but
it's
it
like
it
so bad.
feels so bad. Anyway, so this is Leyline Axe, which is a 4 mana artifact enchantment at rare. It says if this card is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. Like a regular Leyline. Cool. So anything that says Leyline now is just supposed to be on the battlefield, like at the beginning, except for Leyline Binding. Anyway, uh equipped a creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample, and then the equip cost is 3. So it does say double strike and trample on it. So
That's
it,
non-trivial. +1/+1 double strike trample is
mhm.
huge. But like even in the
It's
dream scenario where you leyline this, is it even good? Like is it even
no.
powerful enough for constructed?
This is
3 is
so
a lot to just get like
3 is a
doom bladed in
lot.
response or whatever, you
Yeah,
know?
like 3 is a lot of mana. It's super telegraphed. You're just like, hey, I'm playing
Right.
this,
So people are like,
and
oh, well, they have to hold up the removal. It's like, well, they're going to. There's a leyline
d-
axe on the battlefield.
duh. And like, what's the best? Like like the best case scenario is that you have like a haste creature with this, right? So you can play the haste creature and attach it and
And your
attack in the same
opponent
turn.
tapped out for some reason.
Yeah.
when you
because they
have
thought
five
you,
mana and a Leyline
yeah,
Axe in your Boros deck.
yeah. So you just play like, I don't know, the like Emberheart Challenger. You equip it for three. It's doesn't even get like a prowess trigger, so it's just
This
a
is
three
this is like some
three
sort of
couple strike
combo
trample.
card with those like weird cards that make equip costs cheaper or not relevant,
Maybe, I
right?
guess. It just makes me sad because I wish that the equip cost was significantly
It needed to be two
less. It
to
needed to be
even
at
be
least
like
two.
in the conversation.
So,
But I think
like,
they know that, and that's why it's three.
yeah. But like, it's not even like the other ley lines do something when they're on the battlefield. It's like, oh, the whole game is different. This is very much like, nope, just got a free card on the battlefield. I just like threw this down.
Like it does make your opponent not really want to tap out kind of
Yeah.
thing and be like, what a, they have a haster and I get smoked by this. That's a lot of damage.
But like
It doesn't do
Embercleave is
nothing.
not, it doesn't do nothing. But to be
But
fair,
the problem is if you don't ley line it, it's so awful.
it's
Like,
so bad.
and that's typical of ley lines for sure.
Hmm.
But usually the ley lines have an upside that's worth it.
Yeah.
And then it's just like,
Doesn't.
the whole calculus here is that it's so good if you have it
This
in your
costs
opener and so bad
seven?
if you don't. This is like kind of bad if you have it in your opener and just awful if you
Awful.
if you don't.
And like to make it actually work, you need to have like four of them in your deck if you want to do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
I
not about this card. I think it's
I'm
cool. It feels like a bit of a test. They're just testing people's reaction to ley lines that are not enchantments.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me because ley lines are like in the ground, like right, like the whole
Yeah,
is
but I think this one like is as close as you can get, right? Like it's an axe that's piercing the ground. It has been, like the ley line that was there is now enchanting the
in the axe.
axe.
Is it like the ley line was a rock in the ground and then they took that out of the ground and turned it into an axe and now the axe is the ley line? Is that the idea?
I think the axe struck like, I'm thinking of the ley line as like veins going through the world, and the
Right, right,
axe like
right.
struck one, and
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 it
it
opened
absorbed its
up.
power, kind of
Oh,
thing.
okay. All right, that makes more sense. I'm down for that idea. But no, I'm so against this card. This is on my always past list. Like
Yeah.
I don't like even in draft. I feel like
S-
you can't play this card.
No, no, definitely not.
It's
So that's a
terrible.
great segue to a card I'm super excited about, and it's actually
Okay.
right next. In my view, it's right next to that. And so this is a card called Maze Mind Tome, and I'm really excited for this because lots of people are going to play this and give me free wins. And so, talking about a always pass list, yeah, definitely
Hmm.
on mine. But I know so many people are going to jam this just into their mid-range decks, and I'm going to get a lot of free wins because they spent a bunch of mana doing nothing. And I'm just really excited
But
to see
Jeff,
Maze Mind Tome be around for the foreseeable future.
Maze My Tome, it's like Reckoner Bankbuster, and that card got banned, right? So
Yeah, yeah, it's like a worse Reckoner Bankbuster. So,
all right, can we talk about another card that's like a worse version of something else? Or
of
I,
course,
all right.
yeah.
So this is actually an interesting topic. Um, I think uh, there is a rare land that is in the set that's draftable, and it is called Soul Stone Sanctuary. So this is a colorless land at rare, and it taps for a colorless, and it also has an activated ability where you can pay 4 mana of any color. And it says this land becomes a 3/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types. It's still a land. And that's all. That's all it says.
Oh, this is Mutavault, right?
Oh, it looks like Mutavault.
Yeah.
It looks like Mutavault. Yeah, you're right. Right, because I mean Mutavault's a 2/2. This is the 3/3. It costs
Yeah, this is actually
significantly.
stronger than Mutavault,
Yeah, well, it
if you
costs
think about it.
significantly more than Mutavault. But there's a really important line of text that's just missing from this card.
Um, oh, I know what you're thinking. You think this card, uh, It should cost snow mana.
No, 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 no.
No.
We're not talking about that. This card does not say that it becomes a creature until end of turn. This card says it becomes a creature.
You're right.
It says this land becomes a 3/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types. It's
Okay.
still a land. This is
I
not,
totally missed that. I thought this
yeah,
was just one of the worst man land or like
no.
creature lands of all time.
This just turns into a creature, is a creature, and that's all. So like
It's oh my God, I feel like that's worse than I
it's
thought it
really
was.
bad, right? Like the strength of creature lands is that they are creatures on your turn, but not on your opponent's turn. So sorcery speed removal and board wipes don't hit them. That's like the biggest strength.
I thought this card was garbage before I recognize before you pointed that out. Now
Mm-mm.
I'm just like, what is this card for?
I don't know, but like it is interesting. So this is something that I learned through unsets because there were a few times where there were unsets where it's like target creature gets +2/+2, it fights another target creature. But it doesn't say plus
Right,
two
and
plus
you're
two
like, oh,
until
it
end of
doesn't say
turn.
until end of turn.
And so like
And,
that was
and
the
okay, and here's the issue I take with that
yeah,
because for those of us who are very old, it didn't ever used to say until end of turn. Until end of turn used to be implied.
right.
And so it'd be like shade or whatever, black colon +1/+1.
Right, 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 right.
And I played that as a kid as though that just
Just
happened and did
happened
not
and
dissipate at
never
the end
go
of
away.
turn. And I had to learn from some people who knew better than me
Of course.
that I was mistaken and I should learn to read the cards properly. And I'm like, I feel like I did read the card properly because it never actually says what you're claiming.
Yeah.
And now we've gone back to this sneaky, sneaky, but it actually works the way that I thought it worked as a kid. And now I
Hmm.
want to go back to those people and be like,
See?
see, this is how it should work when it's written that way.
Exactly. Doesn't say
I
until end of
actually
turn.
won that game
Hmm. But
15
years
years
ago.
ago.
Give me the promo. Give me the promo card.
Yeah,
I know you still have it.
right now.
Hmm. Um, but yeah, this is like we haven't really had lands that do this, right? Like I don't think so.
The
We've
one
had
time activate, like we've had lands that just are creatures. We have
mhm.
lands that are creatures till in turn. Have
We've
we ever
had lands
had
that
one that
make
just,
creatures, but we haven't really
yeah,
had lands that turns into a creature one time and just happens. And they've been like working with cards because this is a very like arena specific mechanic, right? Like this feels digital only in the sense that it remembers that it happened and it's always going to be
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
This is part of the movement towards like we're going to be a little less scared of stuff that is
Hmm.
quote unquote hard to track because, you know, a lot
Like
of the way people play is
it,
that's
it's
not an
sim
issue.
it's similar to a lot of the like activated abilities or triggered abilities. Well, this is with activated abilities, but it's like it'll be like activate once a turn, or
Right.
it'll say activate once,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
not a turn. And so this is the same type of thing. It's in that world.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is like
I just don't get who this
bad.
card is. This card just seems so bad.
Is this a commander card? I don't know. Is it just like, oh, it's a hasty 3/3?
Feels like it sucks there too.
Or like I don't know, like 4 mana for vanilla three. I mean, it's a French vanilla 3/3, but like maybe if there's like pump effects from like different, like the sneaky thing with
But
Mutavault
it
is that
still has
it's
that like
all creature types or whatever.
it still has that creature land thing where it's not a 4 mana 3/3. It's a 5 mana 3/3.
Exactly.
Right?
So,
Like that's horrible.
but I guess to be fair, it is a 4 mana 3/3, and then it is just tapped, and then it untaps, and then it's still a creature.
But it costs you a land, right?
That's true. When it
So it's like
dies,
a
yeah,
4 mana 3/3 sack a land, I guess.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I guess it can still tap, so
yeah.
it's not quite that. But like, and it does provide you that land in the early game. It's
But
like the weirdest, shittiest split card.
anyway, I don't know if we're turning this segment from like no pass list to don't ever take list, but like
Yeah.
this is pretty bad. Like you can't even. This is
This
bad.
feels like they were trying something new and they were like, we're not totally sure
On the numbers.
on this mechanic, just
Mhm.
nuke it so it fucking blows. And it feels like that's what,
Print it anyway.
yeah.
Just
But,
fucking
you know,
print it.
in the file, this costs one. And they're like, is this good?
Totally.
I have no idea. And then just make it like something ridiculous, like four. And
Four.
then we know it's bad.
And then they just like forgot to
Yeah. It
like
was
tech.
like a one mana for a 5/5 in the original file. I'm
Mhm.
just like, is this good? I don't know. You have
With
to sack a land, but like,
it was a 1 mana for a 5/5 vigilance, lifelink, death touch.
yeah.
When you activate
Uh,
this ability, you draw 5 cards. Like,
and you can no longer lose the game.
yeah, your opponents can no
And
longer
then
win the
reminder
game.
text, none of this says until end of turn.
Yeah. That's the flavor text. It doesn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And lo and behold, they realized it did not end at the end of turn. Just like,
You cannot lose the game.
yeah, the game doesn't end.
Yeah.
It just,
Oh man, both players have the land. Oh, it's a
yeah,
rough
jeez.
matchup.
Yeah. You call the wife. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Like, I'm not coming home.
It's
Wait, do you
another
mean
can't
like,
lose mirror.
yeah. It's like, you're not coming home till later? It's like, no, no, no. I'm not coming home. God. Soulstone Sanctuary.
You suck, man.
You
You
suck.
suck.
But like, I love that we still have like sucky, shitty cards in core sets, which is so important to core sets. Do you know what I
I
mean?
feel like it is a part of the vibe.
It
Like for
is.
those of us that grew up on core sets, it's like the only thing missing from this set is like honestly, I look at this, I'm like black borders.
Come on. Come on. Where's our white borders? Give me white
Yeah.
borders for core sets. Come on.
And I don't know if we talked about this pre-show last week. I don't actually remember if we talked about it on the show, but the white borders make so much sense here because these cards are in standard for a different amount of time as all of the other cards. And so you can quickly identify which ones are like the long-term legal versus short-term legal standard cards.
It would be perfect. Like,
Where are
imagine.
my white borders, wizards?
Like, this is a huge miss by Wizards. Like, they just printed white borders and like Mystery Booster 2s or whatever for like, I don't know, the like future sight cards or I don't know, whatever they did. They
Hmm.
could have printed white borders on these cards even if they like didn't have the, so originally white borders were for cards that were reprinted ever. So any reprint of any card was always white borders, so you knew it wasn't the original printing.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that rule.
I don't
That
care
doesn't.
about that anymore. Yeah.
But the actual like rule of, hey, this is white border because it's in standard for 5 years, nuts. Like, people would go like, it would be so helpful,
Yeah.
so helpful. Then you could also, I guess, no, I was gonna say we could fix our Scryfall problem, but that wouldn't happen at all. It would just make it worse.
Yeah, it would be
Um,
worse.
I know
The cards would like blend into the
yeah.
background a little bit.
Obviously, they don't like white border because people don't like white border because they look dirty eventually or whatever. I'm not one of
Does
those
that even
people.
matter anymore though? And like Wizards doesn't care about the secondary market, card market really, right? Like,
I think they do. They
I
just
mean, sorry,
publicly,
they
sorry.
claim they don't.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. They claim they don't, but they obviously do. But like, if the like, imagine if the entire set was white border, but all the collector boosters were black border or something,
Hmm.
and you're just like, get it black border. I mean, like, to be fair, that would mean that there would be a way too many white border Llanowar elves, and where everybody was, or whatever, or an innocuous common that people want. All the collector boosters are all foil, so people are looking for non-foil black border cards would be really hard to find. Um, but whatever, I don't care. Whiteboard the whole thing. It makes more sense.
You want a non-foil black border Llanowar elves? Lots of those exist.
Mhm. Hey, if you want to make things simple for us, do that. Whiteboarder the 5 year set. Like, it would be so simple to help us know what's in standard.
Yeah. That way,
Yeah,
if you keep getting your ass kicked by the white border card, you can be like, okay, see you in 5 years.
exactly. And then when this set rotates out, that's when you introduce blue border and
Oof.
black border again, but like kind of purple, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
red border and
Off
green border.
black.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm into it.
yeah, I like it. Also, when you get a white border card, you don't want it white bordered, just Sharpie the side. Come on.
Yeah, just
It's-
go across the whole thing.
yeah, black. Who cares? Proxy your cards. Anyway, this has been a crazy tangent.
Yeah,
I'm glad we've had one. We
I
haven't had
feel
one in a
like
long
it's that
time.
7% beer, man.
Yeah.
This
We're
is
gonna
so
talk.
essentially this is all your fault.
I'm happy with it. I like this. This is we're going back to our roots in the show too. This is what we used to do. Anyway, Jeff. All right. So let's stop talking about good cards. Just kidding. Let's stop talking about bad cards and let's start talking about good commons for draft.
Yes.
We are coming back to our pre-game segment that we have adopted. This is like we've been done this for quite a while, actually. It's our
Yep.
Pack Zero Pick One challenge, and we did not make this up. MTG data. Oh shit, I forgot. I think it's MTG data
Data
on
science. I think.
yes, MTG data science on Twitter or Threads or Blue Sky or whatever you use. They made this up and they're super awesome for it, and I really like it. It's basically trying to guess what the best common cards will be in draft according to 17 lands game in hand win rate metrics. That's basically what we're looking at. If you don't know 17 lands, it's an awesome website that gives you all the data on draft for Magic sets. It's very in depth. There's a lot of numbers. And that's why I asked Jeff what they all mean because, well, he knows numbers. He's a math doctor, if you didn't know.
I actually, I mean, somewhat starting soon. I actually am a data scientist.
That's
So
true. Well, I didn't want to like let that cat out of the bag, but
yeah, now everyone's gonna be like, "What?" Yeah.
what data science?
I care so much about that change. I totally knew what your title was before. Yeah.
It was double
Yeah.
dad math doctor. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
Oh, that's still the case.
Well, that's what I call him. But
Yeah.
anyway, so let's get
It's a
into
super,
this.
yeah, super fun game. Try it at home. Love it.
Basically, what we do is we pick one common of every different color, as well as two miscellaneous, that's just any color, and then the gold signpost uncommon. And all of these we believe will be had the highest win percentage in game in hand win rate on 17lands.com.
And at the end of the format, not like 3 weeks in.
Oh yeah. Well, Jeff, you didn't have to bring that up. All right, the first time we did this, I said it wrong and it was really embarrassing. Blah 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 blah.
To be fair, Zach sent me like the blurb that he read, and I do understand where how we got there from.
Yeah, I was confused,
Yeah,
obviously. Quickly, for those who are wondering, this is just like what the top winningest commons from Duskborn were. So white was like trapped in the screen, so that's a removal spell. Blue was Glimmer Burst, which is a
yeah, never would have
not
guessed that one.
on my radar at all. Black was Final Vengeance, a removal spell.
Sure.
Red was, of course, Scorching
Yeah,
Dragonfire. Green was Spine Seeker Centipede,
yeah.
as
We
well.
were on to that one, but maybe not as number one.
Not as number one. And then the uncommon, the gold uncommon for the highest win rate was Midnight Mayhem, which sneakily I did not. I had looked at, but had decided to choose something else.
That one
And
was like literally the one I was thinking of choosing.
I
And
know, and literally chose something else instead. And we
yeah,
both picked the black red one, which honestly, the uncommon has more to do about if the deck is good or not, and not if the card is good
for
or
sure.
not. So
Yeah. But I don't want to say you talked me out of it, but like after when we were discussing it, you're like, I don't think Midnight Mayhem's all that good. And I was like, okay, I'm glad I didn't choose it then because I was literally about to make that my choice.
I know I still don't think it's very good because the first one doesn't kill you, but the second one does. But like I
Never underestimate Boros in draft, my friend.
yeah, whatever, Jeff. Anyway, let's get into this. I have some picks.
Let's do it.
Jeff, let's start with you this time.
All right, should we start with white? Is
Hmm.
that's what we do? Okay. I think I'm gonna make the boring pick in white. Uh, the card that I think looks the most powerful for me for draft is Banishing Light.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Spoiler. I also picked Banishing Light. So, and the reason that this challenge will be a little less exciting going into it because the thing is, the core set draft is a place where you do want just like powerful cards, and I think that it's not going to be as finicky as other things, and it's supposed to be a little more straightforward. So, whether this actual like challenge is super exciting or fun, we'll have to find out. I think it will be kind of cool to see how it goes on and be like, well, it seemed very obvious that it should be Vanishing Light. And if it's anything else, it'll really be baffling, but I'm ready to be proved wrong. But I feel like this
yeah.
is
I think the only thing that could, risk it is the fact that Cathar Commando and Make Your Move are also both in the set and make your move, destroys artifact enchantment
mhm,
or big creature. It's like totally something people will play. It's not going to be a high pick, but
yeah. It's
it
the
does
same
enough
mana cost.
things that you're interested. And Cathar Commando, it's a 3/1, it's a creature. So it's like there are ways to destroy enchantments, and anytime
Hmm.
that's around, it makes stuff like
Vanishing
Banishing
Light a
Light
lot worse.
a little worse. But I don't see anything else in white that's powerful enough. Like
Hmm.
just has that raw power that Banishing Light has that makes me think, okay, that's going to be the one.
Yeah.
I think there are
It,
a
it,
few
it
cards that I think will be close, but it
mhm.
feels like it's going to be Vanishing Light at
I
the end of
still
the day.
think it'll be like, if you have a deck with like two or you'll be pretty happy if you have two Banishing Lights. Like I just don't see a world where you'll be like, "Ah, I only had Banishing Light. It wasn't the other cards." So that
Yeah.
feels pretty good for me. The funny thing about as we continue down this list, we're looking at new cards. I'm like, huh, look at all these new cards I haven't seen before. I don't know. And we haven't done a pick like pack zero, pick one challenge where we have reprints at this like caliber, like this many reprints. And so it's really hard not to pick reprints every time. Like I know what this card does. I don't know what the other cards do. You know what I
That's a
mean?
good call out too. Yeah, for sure. The bias is always going to be like, yeah, played with this card, it was good.
Yeah. And the last few sets, Banishing Light has been pretty good. So it's hard to go away from that. And that's the same with we're snake drafting, so I'm going for the blue pick. With this, I'm picking Witness Protection, which is just a single blue for the enchantment. A creature loses all abilities is a green white citizen creature token with 1/1, and they're a legitimate business person. Just like really efficient removal in a set that probably cares about big stompy creatures. Core sets
Yeah.
tend to do that. It stops flyers, which is really important in core set draft. Flyers can like just come in full force in these types of sets. So like it has the same problem as Vanishing Light. There's going to be a good amount of probably artifact enchantment removal. Maybe more so now. Like old core set used to be like you had to play disenchant or naturalize.
Yeah.
And they've learned that hey, having cards that do more than one thing is good, and destroying artifacts and enchantments should just be a thing your deck can do, even though you don't have a card that says destroy that thing.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's yeah, just important.
So I know that picking this card might not be it's really hard to do these right after a set because Unable to Scream is a pretty good blue card in Duskmourn. And so
Right.
the
Yeah,
single
yeah.
mana blue like aura that
I mean,
stops a
sure, you're
creature.
picking blue swords to plowshares,
Yeah.
like
I mean, obviously this one still makes him a 1/1 so they could kill you, but I don't know, loses all abilities is big. So
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. No, I actually went a slightly different way on this one, so I think that pick makes a lot of sense. But the blue common that spoke to me, that called to me, Zach, was Big Fin Bouncer.
Oh man, I wrote this down and I literally like deleted it, being like, Jeff's gonna make fun of me if I play this card.
Nah, I love Big Fin
Okay.
Bouncer. So this is 3 and a blue for a 3/2. When it enters, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Like,
Ah, damn it.
I've seen this type of stuff before. They've learned how to cost Mana Wars now. It has to be a 4 mana creature. But I think in a core set, this is going to go a long way because it's a lot less about your creatures getting value on the way in and stuff, which you're often like. The problem with slow cards that do this traditionally is like all creatures get value on the way in. So
Hmm.
you're just like resetting that value for them. I think in a core set in particular, this takes on a different kind of. It actually does what it did originally, which was like that tempo thing of adding a
Hmm.
body to the board and getting in. And you're not that worried because you're just like bouncing a 3/3 or whatever. And
Hmm.
they play the 3/3 again and they don't draw 7 cards because of it. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
totally.
you don't have to do that calculus of like, is bouncing their creature back the tempo I'm getting, is it worth the advantage they're getting from playing it again? It's like, nah, probably not. It's just like it's a random creature,
Yeah, it's like,
you
oh,
know.
their ability just doesn't work anymore, basically.
So, I'm a sucker for Mana Wars, and I think in core sets, Mana Wars are especially good. And Big Fin Bouncer, yeah, loving this guy. He's
Also,
he's my number one.
Big Fin Bouncer looks like a fucking street shark, if you know the
Yeah, yeah,
cartoon.
I love the like pirate art, pirate shark thing going
Ah,
on
it's
here.
so
Like,
cool. Ah,
yeah.
it's so cool.
And you know what? I
Um,
was like, I don't want to be lame like Zach and pick all reprints. So,
yeah, well, that's hilarious because I literally was like, oh, I'm gonna pick Big Fin Bouncer. And then I was like, oh, what if Jeff like says you can't play cards like this anymore? Everything does something on the way in. It's not worth
yeah,
it.
I had like almost the exact opposite
Yeah, exactly. And I
argument.
was like, okay, I can't pick this card. Jeff's gonna make fun of me. Damn it.
Dude, I'm out here bouncing your helpful hunter. That's what I'm
Hmm.
talking about.
Yeah.
Get that, pick that shit up.
Yeah, and
Um,
literally that like Big Fin Bouncer negates the card that I played. It's just like
yeah.
I guess this says
Uh,
opponents. This is opponents. Never mind. We're fine. We're fine. Anyway, oh sorry, you're on black. Go ahead.
yeah, I didn't have anything too inspired for black, to be totally honest. Like, I'm my eyes on Infestation Sage, but more
Hmm.
for constructed. I think I think I had to go with bacon to a pie here.
Okay.
That card is just like it looks slow and clunky, but when I played with it before, it was just like that food token super matters, and I think in a core set that checks out with me of just like destroy anything and get a food token. Pretty good deal in like, you know, tit for tat limited. So saw bacon to a pie. I was like, that's the perfect core set card. That's like what Black wants to be doing in this stuff. So I figured that's where we're going.
Yeah. No, it was really between that, like we were talking about reprints, but I ended up going with Eaten Alive actually.
Yeah. There's
Cost
actually some decent like removal options in Black, like I wouldn't even fault people for picking Stab if they looked at the format like pretty deeply and was like,
yeah.
Stab's gonna be good.
I'm
But
I'm assuming that like all my picks are removal spells that can hit big stuff. Like
right, yeah.
I'm seeing a bunch of dragons, there's a bunch of demons. I'm worried about big giant stuff killing me. I think that these will be I'll always feel good. It will be hard for me to try to pull away from them. But it could also be recency bias of like, I have played similar cards like these in the last format. Literally, like, Final Vengeance is like eaten alive. Like all these things are just like I don't know if it's just because they're so close to my mind. That's what's hard about this challenge. Um, and the picks can be not super exciting. It just like my red pick is also not super exciting.
Yeah.
I was thinking about a couple different ones with this pick actually. So I'll be excited to hear what you think, like for yours. There were a couple ones that I wanted to push the envelope a little bit, but then when I was really talking to myself, I'm like, would I like go into red because I saw this card? I'm like,
I feel like I
no.
know exactly which card you're talking about, but
I like different cards. I'm like, oh, this it's like this looks so like good, but also just not good enough to be like, oh, nobody's playing red. Like that's not what that card tells me. And
Yeah.
Burst Lightning, like if I see this later in a pack, like I know this is a card that should be being played and isn't being played. So for those who don't know, Burst Lightning is a reprint. It's a single red for an instant. It says Burst Lightning deals 2 damage to any target. You could also have paid the kicker cost, which is 4, so 5 total. And it says if the spell is kicked, it deals 4 damage instead. So 2 damage to any target, just a shock that can get upgraded late game. You know, this is the kind of thing where you can attack with all your creatures. Your opponent's like, oh, okay, I'm at 4, that's fine. And then you just burst lightning them to death. So yeah, this also looks like it'll do like a bunch in standard too, just because people are playing shock. This guy plays shock.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Um, I was pretty uninspired by red. I have a feeling red is going to be a bad color in this draft format. I could
yeah.
be wrong here, but just like going through all the colors, every time it felt like, okay, there's some candidates here. And then red was like, the fuck am I supposed to pick? All of these seem bad. Uh, I ended up going with Gorehorn Raider, which is a very
this is
specific thing.
this is the card I was talking about.
But this is 4 and a red for a 4/4. It has raid, which means if you attacked, this triggers. When it enters, if you attack this turn, it deals 2 damage to any target. I don't know. Like, I think that's.
This is like a Flame Tongue Kavu almost, right?
Yeah, except it costs like 2 more mana, does 2 less damage, and, like has a restriction on what's expected of you. But
But that's what it looks like when
otherwise,
yeah,
yeah, like. And I didn't really do my homework here on does enough stuff have two toughness for this to
of
really
course.
do its thing?
Do its thing. It's
Honestly, this was mostly just like, okay, that card, I could see a world where that card is good. And then I looked through and I'm like, and all of these red cards suck. So, like, fine. Like, there's obviously a few decent ones.
yeah.
But
But any target still. If you're just attacking and you're like,
yeah, even if it goes upstairs, it's not the
yeah,
worst, right? So I don't know. I picked this card. I think it's a pretty low likelihood this ends up being number one, but I think there's a pretty high likelihood it's in kind of the top three kind of thing. So given
I
the weakness of the red card, so it's more of like a defensive pick where I'm just like red seems shitty. I don't know what's going to be number one. It's probably not this, but I feel like this is going to be one of the top three.
sure. I know what you mean. Yeah, this is definitely the card I was looking at being like, do I want to make a shot on this because of the cool stuff? Like I could see it doing something where you need to go be a little bit bigger.
Right, there's definitely a world where this is the best red common too,
Hmm.
right?
But
Um,
like, yeah, there were less like inspired cheap creatures, strangely enough,
yeah,
um,
that's the thing.
which is awkward for.
Or like, sometimes there's a scorching dragonfire, and you're like,
Mhm.
oh, thanks, Red, for
Thanks.
making it easy on me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because the big thing with burst lightning is it only deals 2 unless it costs 1 million. So you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
Um, Jeff, your green card. You're up next, buddy.
I mean, I picked Land of Werewolves.
Okay,
Card's a great, it's just a great limited card. It's a great card. It's also a great limited card. So I wanted to, like, I think there are some really strong green cards here. Green actually is sort of opposite to red. I think green might be early pick for being a pretty decent color in this draft format. But Llanowar Elves is a just great card. Uh, Again, I could see something else being number one, but there's just no way Llanowar Elves isn't in at the top.
for sure. I could definitely see that. It's actually not where my head went. Um, I was looking at some other cards that have been like all stars in formats where it's like, man, if you're playing green, you're wanting to play this. Now, I don't know if this set is exactly the one for it because we do, like I was saying before, have big dumb stuff to do. But I ended up going with Apothecary Stomper, which is
Okay.
so Apothecary Stomper is four green
Oh
green
yeah, yeah.
for a
This is
4/4.
like a more modern
Hmm.
archetype of green card that
Yeah. So it's four green green for a 4/4 creature elephant with vigilance. And it says when this creature enters, choose one. You can either put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature you control or gain 4 life. So this is basically a honey mammoth, where it's a like a 6 mana 6/6 where you gain 4 life. Like there's a history of magic sets where they made a 6 mana 6/6 that gained life that was like the stabilizing creature that you needed to win the game. And this one has the versatility of doing either gaining four
yeah.
life to stabilize you or be aggressive and you put counters on something that can attack this turn. And it doesn't, it could be a 6/6, or it could just be a 6 mana 4/4, but you put 2+1/+1 counters on your flyer or
Yeah.
something that
I
has
really
trample
like this
or
design. The fact that I think when I first read this card actually, my brain defaulted to put 2+1/+1 counters on this. Like your option was this is a six
either.
six or it's a 4/4 gain
Mhm.
four.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of cool, but you know, the fact that it's two anywhere it actually makes a pretty big difference. The other thing is, I was going to ask Zach, like, this is, your classic six mana stabilizer in green.
Hmm.
What if you just really needed to stabilize one turn earlier? Like six is just a little too
Yeah.
slow.
And so if you had a Llanowar elves, you could do
Oh,
it a
yeah,
little bit
that could
faster.
do it. Yeah.
You know what you would also need in that scenario? This card. No, to be fair, you would actually just need kind of anything.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see Llanowar elves being the pick because it kind of fits in just every green deck. But I wonder the splashability in this set. Like we do have all of the common dual gain lands in the set. So whether we're trying to splash or not, if Llanowar Elves becomes like less exciting because we can't splash with it, I don't know. Um, but also the pick that I made, like the Apothecary Stomper, is kind of in place of other bombs that you didn't find. And if this is not this easily gets kicked out if you have like a couple dragons, then you're like, well, we don't need this stupid elephant. So, but you'd still play your Llanowar Elf, So
Yeah. Uh,
I don't know, but anyway, I thought
It's really a chicken or the egg kind of thing,
this
right?
is this is really where I took my shot, right? Like I
Yeah.
decided that I was going to do it here, and whether I'm right or not, I don't know. Well,
I don't know either.
yeah, only time will tell, I guess. Um, all
I
right,
was
so
super biased though. I was like, I'm gonna read the green commons, but
but
like
I
I
know what
feel
it's
like
going
I'm
to be.
picking Llanowar Elves.
Yeah,
So because
I
I
mean
knew that
it's
was one of the cards I knew was in the set, right?
totally. I mean, like this literally in my list is the first non-removal spell that I picked. So, um,
I was like,
which
I honestly, when you were talking, I was like, did he pick Bite Down? Is that just like the
I
thing?
mean, I was really thinking about Bite Down, honestly. But it just did Bite Down after playing monstrous submersions and stuff like that. I'm just like, man, Bite Down is just not enough.
It's not, yeah, it's not.
No,
It's not the thing.
not the thing. So my first miscellaneous card that could be any color as still a common. I did come around on white, and I think that this card could do the stuff with what's around. Helpful Hunter, really
Yeah.
innocuous. One and a white for a 1/1 cat. When it enters, draw a card. But relevant creature type, there are rares that anthem you, but also just any card that lets you draw a card is good. You can put counters on it. You can do different stuff. It's a cat. Yeah.
I like that pick. Um, this is uh this is an awkward moment for me for my first miscellaneous pick for
Okay.
uh I wouldn't say giving you a hard time, but maybe a little bit. But I felt like the easy miscellaneous pick for me was witness protection. So I was just like, yeah, that's the card I missed, and there was like I was between those two cards really closely, and a lot of the other stuff were easier picks for me. So it's like, we're just gonna pick both of these. And then when you
Perfect.
picked Witness Protection, I was like, I'm gonna use my other blue because like they're almost equivalent for me. I was like, let's be
Gotcha.
different, and I'll choose another. But I did pick Witness Protection as well. So
uh, all right. Well, I feel a little bit better now for though. Like, spoiler, I did not pick Big Fin Bouncer for
well,
my
that's a
other one.
bummer.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I was
know.
really hoping we would like exchange that on miscellaneous one,
I know
but
that would be kind of funny,
we
but
really should like rehearse these episodes before we release
we
them.
should go through our picks before we actually like talk about them on air, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's your next miscellaneous pick?
Okay, so this one, I felt like there were a lot of very reasonable options here in terms of, like just cards we know are pretty good. Um, but I decided to, take a bit of a flyer here. Well, actually, it doesn't fly. But on a card that I just kind of like and I think does suits core set well. And honestly, my son has been really into The Lion King recently, so this may have influenced me. I'm just so proud of him, like
Oh my
he,
God,
he
Jeff. I
loves The
almost
Lion
picked
King.
this card.
He just really loves The Lion King, and I just feel a certain way right now, so I felt like I had to choose a Prideful Parent, which is a 2 and a white for a 2/2 vigilance, and when it enters, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. That's pretty good value for core
That's
set
good.
like that. That's solid. The vigilance, very nice there. Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
like this card.
It's
It's
it's a
super solid limited
it's
card.
super solid. It's really good. I was literally between picking Helpful Hunter or Prideful Parent. Like those were my big choices
Yeah.
because they both look like solid limited cards to me. So,
Yeah, when you picked uh Helpful Hunter, I was kind of like, I have a different white ETB card, but like
mhm.
yours makes
They're
sense.
both. I think they're both like you never know. Like maybe Helpful Hunter actually gets you something you need, or there's a
For
situation
sure.
where Prideful Parent where you get the 1/1 just doesn't do enough, and but you just never know, right? And the format will have to dictate that. But two bodies for 3 mana is always something I'm looking at. Always
Yeah,
excited.
I think, well, I guess we're snake drafting, so you have to go next, but
Hmm.
um I picked this to be my second miscellaneous specifically because it ties in with my gold signpost
Oh, I
as like a
see.
symbiotic kind of
I
relationship there.
understand. I know exactly what you're gonna pick, and I knew it like
I think everyone knew which gold signpost I was going to pick.
yeah. Um, so
I'll just write it now.
I think I'm just gonna pick this one as well, and I I know this is against literally everything else I've said this entire podcast. So that's why it makes me so mad. And I'm doing my off the cuff. I left my last one blank because there are a couple things I was looking at, but I think I'm going to go with this one. I even went and did some research about this and decided I didn't want to pick it, but you know what? I'm going to pick it anyways because it is, in fact, a gold vein pick. It's a 2 mana artifact equipment. A go to creature gets +1/+1. When it deals combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token equipped. The equip cost is 1. But if you remember, Call Time Limited, a lot of the draft format revolved around Boros having this specific card.
Yeah.
And that's where it's coming from. So if Boros is good, I think that this is good. And I think that you'll want to have this. It will help situations more than you think. It's extremely innocuous. However, I think that being able to hit your opponent and ramp a little bit, being able to play like, you know, a 2 drop after you attack instead of nothing does matter. And Gold Vein pick. Let's see it. Let's see some fast decks. Jeff doesn't like the red cards. I don't agree. I'm going to say this is a red card. Let's go. Well, it is time to pick our signpost uncommons for this set.
Yes.
And, well, I know what you're picking. And I decided to pick a two. We're going
Oh,
together.
you son of a gun.
I just can't. I looked at all the other ones and it's just, they're not as good.
Honestly, this card is so good. If
Yeah.
you played last time this card was around, even though, I have a sneaking suspicion that red what might be one of the weaker colors in this set, it doesn't matter. This card is just
Mm-mm.
that good.
It's just that good. And this is part of the reason I picked some of the things that I did. It's obviously part of the reason you picked some of the cards you did.
Yeah.
Um, do you, I mean, I picked it, but do you want to do the honors of saying what it is?
Yeah, we're selecting, of course, heroic reinforcements. This is two red white for a sorcery. Create two 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. Till end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. This thing hits like even on its own, it's like two creatures and 4 damage right now.
Hmm.
But just imagine any like sensible curve into this. You can also just hold it and play it in the late game. Like last time this was in a core set that I played in, there was always that feeling of like, okay, I think I've stabilized against the red-white deck. Now I must win the game quickly because they will still win if they draw heroic reinforcements.
Hmm.
And that gave the red-white deck so much reach where it was like they're going to beat you down early. They have like Pegasus to fly their stuff and all that. Like they had
Yeah.
ways to win. And then even when you stabilize, it's like, damn, I gotta
That's it.
close now
Or
because I still
like
lose to heroic reinforcements because it's so
so
much
easy.
damage.
Yeah. This card was in Magic Origins and just so strong. If you like played like MKM, you know that the Inspiring Charge in that set was really good. This is so much better. If you're talking about Midnight Mayhem, this is like that,
Yeah,
but on steroids. Like
yeah.
giving +1/+1 to your team and haste is, I don't know, just so much better than giving lifelink and menace to your gremlins.
Right, yeah.
Come on.
And even,
Like,
yeah, like I think the reason I was so high on that card or almost picked it was because of this one, where I was
mhm,
like, I'm like, this is such a bad heroic reinforcements, but that still might be really good.
yeah.
You know?
So, like all the other cards look, you have Tatiova Benthic Druid is like cool. It's very commandery card. Empyrean Angel, that's a actually solid pick. Like I said
Yeah,
before, Blue White Flyers is strong. That's just a lord for flying creatures.
totally.
But in the end, like it's just every single time, I just think heroic intervention. Sorry, heroic reinforcements is just the card that's gonna close out games, and you're gonna be afraid of it in this set. Like
Yeah.
when you're doing big dumb stuff, that's the card that punishes you. I don't think the other ones do. There's some really cool like they made four new gold uncommons that I really want to play with. Like these cards look really sick, but they're just not heroic reinforcements. I
Yeah.
just don't think they're going to be any better. Like,
And the support is there, like I
mhm,
picked Prideful Parent, you picked Helpful Hunter. Both of those cards are awesome in a
straight
heroic
into it.
reinforcements deck. And if you start looking at the uncommons too, like you got like your Resolute reinforcements, right?
Hmm.
Which is like perfect card to curve into that same deck. And so
Yeah,
the
there's.
support just exists there on top of this card is just awesome almost in any like it doesn't even have to be it reads like a tokens card, right? But it doesn't
Hmm.
it just any red white deck that is interested in attacking, this card is amazing in it. And this set specifically has support for this ability of things that
Exactly.
make multiple bodies.
Yeah, like the reason that I was thinking about like another red card I had looked at that it was like seemed like it possibly could go into this whole thing is like Goblin Surprise, which
Hmm.
is it's a common. It's two and a red for an instant. You can choose one. Either you get to Trumpet Blast, so your creatures get +2/+0, or you create two 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens. But like opponent's end step, make two 1/1s, heroic reinforcements, make two more, attack
Yeah.
for 8. Like that's.
I almost picked this as my red card because I
Mhm.
was like, red sucks, but Boros is going to be good.
Yeah,
And so
Goblin Surprise.
maybe this is the best red common,
So
you know?
like those are the three cards I was looking at. The two we actually picked, and then Goblin Surprise. So
Yeah. And I was like, I probably should be picking Goblin Surprise, but I kind of want to pick this other card.
I love your pick, and I'm very happy that you picked it.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I
but
just wanted on record that
okay.
if Goblin Surprise is number one.
Well, it doesn't matter. You didn't pick it, so I'm gonna scratch that from the. I'm the one that
Yeah.
edits this, so we.
Damn it.
um, all right, Jeff, you ready to go to last call?
I am. I just wanted to say, like, that whole exercise has just made me so excited for Core Set Limited. I love this stuff. Like,
Yes. I do highly recommend like pack zero, pick one. Obviously, we said what we thought, and sometimes the picks look obvious, but like when you look at them months later, you're like, holy crap! Like I was so wrong, and
yeah.
it's really refreshing, and I really love that.
It's
So
because like card evaluation happens in a vacuum more or less. Like I do look at other stuff and be like, okay, is heroic reinforcements going to be good? Well, there's a lot of ways to generate multiple bodies, so probably. Uh, but then, actual magic happens in context, and that's
mhm.
where everything actually happens. And you can't possibly process all 300 cards or whatever and
It's
their interactions. So,
yeah, far
uh,
too difficult. So
but the pack zero pick one is just so fun. It's a really really great game,
mhm.
and I feel like everyone just understands that we're all terrible at it. We're just like
Yeah,
as human beings, naturally, we suck at this, and that's what part of why Magic is so fun too, right? Like if it was just easy, you could just look at a set for the first time, scan the cards, and be like, "Well, that's the good one, and that's the bad one." Like we might, we wouldn't be hooked for life like we are. Like it's
exactly.
part of the
Yeah,
appeal.
a lot of it's like sometimes you're like, oh, this actually normally it's a good card, but in this set, it just for whatever reason just didn't happen to be good because
Right,
of
and
this,
that
this, and this, and
context
this.
is what makes things so interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like, oh, Stab was actually significantly better than the other ones because the heroic reinforcements deck was just so strong that you needed to kill things fast,
yeah, and
and
that could be that's
it's
a
like
totally reasonable thing that could happen.
it's like you can't afford to bake something into a pie or sacrifice a creature to kill something. Like you just
Yeah.
can't do it. So you
And now that
just
you mention that, I'm looking at my list. I'm like, this list almost disagrees with itself.
I know.
Like
I kind of
the
did the
fact
same
that
thing.
it likes bake into a pie, and also the
Yeah.
fast Boros decks, right?
I mean, like, but you just don't know. So, um,
Let's call it hedging my bets and not an oversight.
no, it's definitely hedging your bets for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. It's smart because if you go way too deep into something, you're just going to lose by a lot,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
which I have definitely done in the past for sure. Anyway, let's talk about the beer we had this evening.
Yeah.
So we're going to last call, which is we're gonna rate this thing. We got a acid house from Bellwoods Brewery, so we got to rate this. But first, we rate everything on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. However, we just want to say before we talk about the rating system, this has nothing to do with what tier you are in currently. So don't feel bad when we say that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. We don't like them, and we spit on them and just pour them down the drain.
Yeah. And silver beers are just boring. These are like macro brews or just particularly uninspiring micro brews.
Yeah. Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't really drink them again.
Platinum is solid. You would totally drink it again.
Diamond beers are exceptional. You like these a lot. You buy them often and you drink them with your friends.
Yeah. Mythic, best of the best. These are the heroic reinforcements of the beer world.
That's right. So Jeff, Acid House, what did you think about the sour IPA?
Uh, I thought it was good.
Okay.
I feel like I built it up in my head that it was going to be something that it wasn't in the end.
Yeah.
So my experience with Bellwoods was a lot of back in the day as well, where there was like they would make like a massive barrel aged stout or porter with some funk to it. And you're like, oh, that
Hmm.
the layers of that funk in there are really cool. This was this was a sour IPA, and I think I was just expecting like just an awesome IPA with this kind of undertone of like funkiness,
Yeah.
kind of like they used to do in the old days. And I got just a well-made sour with some,
Hoppy notes to it.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And I think it was good, and I still really enjoyed it. But I think in my head, I was like, this is going to be something else.
Mm,
And that something else is something that, typically I would like a little more than what I
gotcha.
got.
It's actually
So,
pretty interesting because when I took the first sip, I was expecting this to be much more sour. I thought this was going to be like very sour first, kind of hoppy IPA, maybe abrasive, kind of attack me.
yeah,
And it was exactly the opposite. It was very smooth. It kind of creeps on you a little bit and you slide into it. And then I felt like I was kind of melting like this house a little bit, like on the can. Like
yeah,
all of it ended up going the right way for me, where I was like, oh, oh, I wish I had more of these. Like I was actually pretty excited. Like I enjoyed this, but I will say that it tasted to me very IPA first and
yeah.
not as sour as I thought, which I was expecting you to like. So it's interesting that you
Yeah,
were
I think
hoping
it
it would be
depends
funkier.
on what your start point is because I was
Right.
like kind of expect this. I expected it to be IPA first and sour
Sour second.
second.
Yeah.
I expected it to be almost more so, where
Right.
um I liked it for sure.
Yeah.
But all I was kind of picking up was the sourness because I was like, oh,
Interesting.
this is a little stronger than I was
Oh, that's so
expecting.
funny. To
Yeah.
me, it just felt so smooth, and it gave me like all those like,
And it's for sure smooth and like a well-made beer and all that.
oh,
Like,
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
that kind of goes without saying with
yeah. For
Bellwoods
this,
these days.
it just
Um,
like I was thinking this reminded me a lot more of like a high percentage IPA that's like the alcohol is high enough that it tastes really silky and like your
right, right. Yeah.
your the hops aren't like so abrasive and the sourness was so light to me that like I just I really I liked it a lot. This I want more of this now, so it's possibly our normal thing where we have
Yeah.
contrasting views on certain beers, but I like this a lot.
I like this one because it was in the middle of what we both normally would want, and we
Hmm.
reacted to it like from that lens,
Yeah.
you know? Um, I like your point a lot about the melting though, because I was like,
Hmm.
damn, like it is still easy drinking for
It's
sure. And you're like, well,
definitely
that's an easy drinking 7%er. Like that
yeah.
part is without question.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I think I just had like a very specific thing in mind
For
when I
sure.
heard sour IPA from Bellwoods. And I don't even think it was a reasonable expectation because this might have been what they used to make like 7 years ago,
Totally.
like
And like
uh
the Bellwoods is right around the corner for me, so I drink a lot of their stuff often and like I think that most of the time I kind of stay away from their kind of kookier IPAs because they
sure.
don't sometimes they just like don't hit right. And because this one didn't taste sharp or like so hoppy harsh, I just really liked it. And so I'm gonna go buy some more tomorrow. That's just like
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. I just know I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you
do that.
should. Yeah. It's good. For me it was platinum, I think.
Gotcha.
Um
And like I don't know if this is an all timer, so I'm not gonna like hit the button with it, but like
it's up to you.
I'm gonna say diamond. I liked this a lot. I'm definitely gonna drink more.
Yeah.
It might be able to creep its way up there, but with your reaction, like mythic beers to me, like I want to be able to tell anyone ever to be like,
Right.
hey, this is the beer. And if you have a reaction like this, and I like obviously trust your beer tasting skills, that like I'm not gonna feel confident being like, hey, everyone drink this. It's gonna be great. But I really like it, and I would recommend it to some folks. But obviously, maybe some people won't like it. But
I need another one. That's the only way.
you need another one.
Another one at a different time. And,
Uh yeah, yeah. Well, maybe we'll revisit this off air.
yeah.
I'll just like bring another one to you. We'll see. But anyway, Diamond and Platinum, it's good. That's pretty good
Because
beer.
sometimes I wonder, like if this didn't say Bellwoods and it was just some brewery I'd never heard of,
Hmm.
what would I rate it then? You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like,
I mean, like, to be fair, we haven't really done a blind tasting, so.
yeah, I might have been like, wow, this is awesome, diamond
Mhm.
kind of thing. But because it's like Bellwoods, I have high expectations, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it was really good, but was it
It
was it
what
Bellwoods
it's
good?
also like kind of interesting because I walk past Bellwoods all the time, so
Right, so you're like,
I'm
yeah, it's just
like,
Bellwoods.
it's
Yeah,
just
it's
Bellwoods,
just
yeah.
right
So
there.
like, yeah, um, and I've had some other worse ones that I just don't bring on the show. But anyway, sweet beers or good beers, not sweet
Yeah,
necessarily,
definitely
but
wasn't sweet.
like sweet,
Yeah,
nice,
it
buddy.
was rad.
Anyway, I am so fucking stoked for Foundations.
Oh my God, this is like when you mentioned that like the last core set was, before we started the show kind of thing. It's like, yes, that's why I've been craving it.
Yeah, it's been
Give me
so
that core
long.
set.
What is it, 4 or 5 years since the last core set? The
Insane.
last one was like core set 2021, but it was 2020 when it was released. So it was like,
Right.
oh God, crazy. Anyway, let's go to closing time.
Yeah, let's
So
close this out.
yeah, it's time. It's time to shut the doors and flip the chairs, sweep the floor. You can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
You may also find us on Arena itself. We go by the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That is Zulberg on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is on the Discord channel. We have a very active a few discussions going on right now.
Mhm.
Come let us know. Like there's a lot going on. Vent, bro, vent. And we also share deck.
Vent,
Yeah,
buddy, vent
yeah,
so hard.
yeah. That's what we do. You can also share some deck lists, share your trophies, winning lists. Like we love to talk about everything on there. And the link for that is in the show notes.
That's right. Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify as well. Leave us a review anywhere you can, right on your bathroom walls in your local bar. Hey, guys, listen to the Arena Regulars podcast if you want that good magic, sweet, awesome sauce.
Yeah,
We
looking for a good time.
Yeah, listen to this podcast. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
But it helps a lot no matter where you give advice to people. We appreciate all the love and support. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that no matter what anyone says, Core Set Draft is the best draft. Go out to your pre-releases, go draft foundations. So excited.
So excited. Good night. All right, that's fine.